The next question goes to you. And this question was sent to me by a law student named Nathan Boyles. I don't know who he is. He says he's a law student, and I believe him. The question is this: how successful were you in your education and in passing the bar exam? And in what way has your academic experience prepared you to be a wise, scholarly judge?
Well, you know, I was very fortunate, not because necessarily of how hard I worked, but I was fortunate to be a very, very good student from the time I was in high school. And I was able to get a scholarship to Duke University, which is one of the finest universities in the country. And that educational experience really helped me, broaden me, allowed me to be alongside people of great intellect, and it broadened my horizons. I really didn't think about going to law school until I went to Duke University. I was fortunate enough to be able to come back to the University of Florida, which I believe is generally regarded, at least at that time, as the finest law school in the Deep South, in the Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida area. And so I went to the best school that was available to me. And so I'm proud of that. And I'm proud with regard to the bar exam. You know, I was pleased to be able to take that when I was up in Washington and was able to pass that right away. And so I'm very proud of my credentials. It's not something I talk about. It's not easy for me to talk about. But I'm fortunate to be able to have some God-given talent, and I hope to be able to use it for the betterment of the community.
Thank you. Mr. Powell.
Thank you. Well, my brother's here, my sister's here, and we all three went to a law school called South Texas College of Law. We were all, could have gone to Florida schools. My brother was admitted to Stetson and chose this school because South Texas College of Law in Houston has a reputation of training lawyers to be great trial lawyers. It's a litigation school. We all were fortunate enough to go to this school to assist in our training, to come back in our law firm and represent the people in trials across this state. And South Texas has that reputation. Racehorse Haynes, one of the greatest trial lawyers in the country, attended South Texas. And Judge Parnham, who was our chief judge, is now retired in Pensacola, was a classmate of my brother Gil at South Texas. So I'm very proud to be able to attend South Texas. My niece Lacey's in the audience, and she scored the top 2% on the SAT exam and the top 10% on the bar exam. And I took the bar exam first time, and I took it the second time. I passed on the third time. So the third time was a charm for me, but it hasn't affected my career in any way. First time I took it, I just got out of law school and was working, doing intern work that you could do from South Texas to get right into the courtroom and try cases. And really, I didn't study for it. So I went down there and I didn't do well. The second time I took it, I had the flu. I was in the bathroom throwing up, and I did a lot better the second time on it than I did the first time with the flu. The third time I passed it with flying colors, and I've never looked back, and that was 26 years ago.
Thank you. The next question goes to Mr. Powell, correct? Am I right about that? Okay. A number of readers have sent it. Just a moment. Oh, my apologies, I got a little mixed up.
Okay.
Mr. Powell, this question is to you. Area jails and state prisons are over capacity right now. The majority of those incarcerated are in for drug crimes. Do you think Congress and or the state legislature should re-examine sentencing guidelines for drug crimes? Why or why not?
That's a good question, and I'm going to start out by addressing some of the programs that we've started in the First Circuit in Okaloosa County. And one of those programs was started several years ago, and the other counties, the other circuits in the other counties have followed this program, and that's drug court. And drug court's a great thing because it gives an opportunity for a first-time offender who's on a drug charge. It's not a drug trafficking charge, but it's a first-time offender who has no prior criminal record can enroll in drug court and keep himself out of jail. It's a year program. It's very stringent. The first 3 or 4 months, you have to report 3 times a week But it's a great program. It's working good. It keeps the jails more open, and it also helps to rehabilitate and get counseling to some of these first-time offenders instead of spending a year in jail. Those programs have been expanded now into domestic violence court and mental health court, and it's been a great program to assist us with the matters in the jail. As to the sentencing guidelines, they're tough. If you don't know them, there's certain criteria that you can go by the sentencing guideline, like the Youthful Offender Act. You can look at the Youthful Offender Act. If you've got a young man that's scoring out for prison time, you can sentence him to youthful offender. That gives him an opportunity to get some rehabilitation in prison. But the guidelines are tough. I'll give you a quick example. There was a young man, a student at this school that I represented approximately a year ago that went by a house in Destin and was arrested. He never had been in trouble before, but that young man was facing 70 years in federal court because there was a weapon in the house. He was not involved in any drugs, and we were able to finally, after jury selection, work out a situation for the young man where he didn't go to prison.
Thank you. Mr. Ketchum.
When you're dealing with sentencing guidelines, this is an area that I think is always in conflict between the legislature and the judges. The judges always want more flexibility, and I would fall in that category. I think the more flexibility you have, the more you're able to look at each individual case. The legislature, however, is guided by politics and guided by a very strong constituency that wants law and order. So they put tougher guidelines, tougher mandatory guidelines. So there's always a balance going on between the flexibility that's contained within the system, and maintaining law and order. I think it is important. I think there is generally a good balance, but I do believe that there can be some efforts to try and provide a little more flexibility in the sentencing in order to give judges the opportunity to look at an individual case and try and make a proper decision.
Thank you. Mr. Ketchum, this next question is for you. Because judicial duties change, the new circuit judge could hear a death penalty case. What is your position on the death penalty, and are you willing to impose it?
I don't think it's proper to really talk about your personal views on such an important issue. Clearly, this is the most difficult issue that any circuit judge would ever face. Fortunately, it's rare that a circuit judge handles it. I will abide by the law, and the law of the land today is that capital punishment is available. Fortunately, there's a balance in the system, and it provides a lot of safeguards so that it is not done lightly. So I will abide by the law.
Thank you. Mr. Powell?
Well, first of all, Mr. Ketchum couldn't sit on a death penalty case before he'd have to go to training as a circuit judge. I think Judge Barron can sit on a death penalty case. There's only a handful of lawyers, maybe not even a handful, that have tried a death penalty case in a defense capacity in the First Circuit. So there's special rules and special legal issues that come up in a death penalty case unless you have that critical criminal law experience, and even more criminal law in capital cases and in first-degree felony cases. It's difficult to sit on those cases, and there's seminars that the judges have to go to and assist in that. I think Judge Barron's done some training on those cases, and that's an issue that I feel strongly about, and that's the law in the state of Florida. And as judge, you place your hand on the Bible and you're sworn in to follow the law and uphold the law and enforce the law. And if that's what it requires, and there's some cases it requires, then I will rule accordingly.
Thank you. The next question goes to Mr. Powell.